have breached the inner sanctum here at Blizzard Entertainment, and I am joined by Executive Vice President of Creative Development, Chris Metzen. How are you doing, sir?
Good, good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you were around for the original StarCraft way back in the day, so it's been, obviously you started working on StarCraft 2 a little bit before now, but it's been 12 years since the original game came out. Was it hard for you to jump back into that fiction after being away from it for so long? Did it take you a little while to get your bearings and kind of figure out where you wanted to go with the story?
It wasn't hard to jump back into it creatively. I think most of us had a lot of passion and excitement to get back into it. We love those characters, we love those races, and it had been too long away. So we were really excited. But in terms of getting our bearings, probably. It's like so much story I wanted to tell. It did take us a while to figure out, just hone in on the most important themes, the most important characters, and just try and construct something that was really, really tight. I think sometimes, especially with that kind of break, like we had the same kind of break with Warcraft 3, it's like you spend so long conjuring ideas and stuff that they're not necessarily all good, and sometimes less is more.
What do you feel like is the most radical thing you're doing story-wise with this game that fans might not see coming?
Given the first game, when we really set out to do this big, multiracial, war game, and what surprised us, I think, as we were moving through the storyline, in terms of writing it, is how foreground Raynor and Kerrigan came, like the two kind of principal characters. I had a sense of Raynor up front. Kerrigan was kind of she kind of just popped there in the middle of the storyline. We didn't anticipate her being in it, but she was just this character that came out that we really wanted to invest in. And it really just kind of organically grew out of that. This time around, there's so much more of a focus on these people and kind of what they're about and how they're interacting throughout the course of this war, that this one had way more focus this time around, where we kind of fell into things with StarCraft 1. This one's all built on top of those ideas, so it's much sharper and much more thematically crisp, I think.
Did you ever have an expectation of there being a fourth faction in this game, or did you ever feel any kind of disappointment that you didn't get to create a whole new race for this and you just kind of stick into the original three?
For my money, I never really gave a whole lot of weight behind a fourth faction, pardon me. I've always thought StarCraft was really about those three races. The problem is they're so, the kind of theme and mechanic behind each race is pretty clean. The psychic aliens, the crazy swarming insects, and the technical, robot Terrans or whatever. There are other themes you can fudge into that matrix, but I think it just diminishes it overall. Like really the triangulation of StarCraft at a thematic level is one of its biggest strengths. Like I'm not a huge fan of chasing, fourth race or whatever. Though, I don't know. Never say never, I guess. Sure. But that's certainly not admitting building anything. But
fourth StarCraft 2 game.
Exactly. You never know what might happen down the road.
Sure.
But for this sequel and its expansions, 3 is the magic number.
Sure. So are you kind of spreading yourself around all of the Blizzard properties at this point? Diablo is kind of the big next release, and you've got this mysterious next MMO going on.
Right.
Are you kind of evenly across all that stuff right now? Or?
I wouldn't say evenly. The past, many years, I kind of work on a little bit of everything, and it comes in kind of phases, right? So I'll be really intense on a product, for a little while, and then kind of leave it alone and go on to something else. So these days, I'm working on the big unannounced thingy.
Sure.
Which is really cool. And then,
that's a technical term.
And then StarCraft, we're starting to launch forward as the team is kind of wrapping up the Wings of Liberty product. The story team's kind of marching forward and jamming out, the kind of broad strokes of the Zerg campaign. What else am I doing these days? Always kind of jamming on. I work with Alex Afrasiabi, who's the lead world designer on WoW, and we're just kind of always jamming on WoW as it moves forward and how that story plays out. So. I haven't touched Diablo in a while, but again, it's just all kind of hot spots. So, kind of jump
all
around.
over the place.
Yeah, kind of all over the place.
Well, since you mentioned WoW, how do you feel about the changes that are coming in Cataclysm? Some of the zones that are getting overhauls are pretty close to a lot of people's hearts.
Right.
Do you feel like this is it? Is it your last chance to go run around in the Barrens as it used to be? Is there any kind of sadness that you're kind of losing some of that stuff?
That's a
little
really
bit of
good
history?
question. Yeah, it's insanely close to my heart too. But it's pretty badass. It was about 2 weeks ago I sat down with Alex, and we'll do run-throughs of zones about every week, so I can see kind of what's going on. Like we talk a lot about it conceptually, but I don't sit with that team, so like about every week, every 2 weeks, I'll sit down and they'll drive me through, you know, how it's all taking shape. And oh man, like it was pretty amazing. Like I don't know what they've announced or not announced, but
you can tell us.
Just
rolling,
right. But I mean, just rolling through zones that are so familiar, right? I mean, you've spent hundreds of hours in like these places and kind of imprinted on the characters there and the flora and the fauna and all that good stuff. But it was hugely emotional rolling through areas that were once like, let's say, plagued out, if you will, and now are like just reborn. I mean, just holy cow, you know, just it's very affecting. I didn't expect that.
So obviously, with this kind of character-driven sort of drama that's going on in StarCraft 2, you guys have brought a pretty accomplished voice cast together. How's it been working with some of those guys? I mean, you've got Trisha Helfer's probably the biggest name on there, but you've got some really talented people on there. I mean, were you in there for all those sessions? Like, how did that stuff work out for you?
Oh yeah, many hours in the studio. It was awesome. It was a long process, you know, with a cast that big and you know with so much dialogue. But it was awesome getting the old school guys back. Like Robert Clotworthy came back and just absolutely killed it, you know, and James Harper. And it was just a blast to get everybody in there. We also worked with a lady named Andrea Romano, who's kind of like a top voice director in animation out in Hollywood, and she pretty much took the reins, you know. And you know, we've been ham and egging it for all these years, so we actually got a real director in there to just rock it. So it was pretty educational sitting next to her every day and kind of seeing how she approached voice direction and just kind of handles actors and kind of lets things roll a little more organically than I might. Which was really good. It turned out to be a real X factor in just letting these characters breathe and kind of helping them to kind of the characters kind of to relate to each other. A lot of times, the voice direction, you know, you've written your script and like actors are in there kind of individually, and it can feel kind of stilted sometimes with the characters, even on a great read, since they're not in the same room. You know, you kind of have that vibe issue. Like sometimes, like, do they really feel like they're relating to each other? But oh man, you know, Andrea just she has a way of kind of filling that gap and getting the actors right in the moment, and it was really cool to watch. And I think it really made the difference in StarCraft 2. I think a lot of these characters really feel alive, and you feel a real connectivity to them when they're in their zone.
Professionals at work, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Chris, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to let you get back to creating.
For sure.
Thanks again, and we'll look forward to seeing StarCraft 2 soon.
Awesome.
Thanks.